Hey guys, Chad Hoover, Kayak Bass Fishing. Welcome back to the channel. And listen, I am so jacked up about the interaction that we're getting on the community tab and my ability to answer the questions that you guys have. I'll be honest, it is hard to keep up with all the comments on the videos. And I'm not asking you to stop because we've got the ability to really grow this channel. I think the interaction, they call it, or the engagement, that's the word, engagement, helps the algorithm, that helps YouTube recommend our videos. We're doubling down this year. We're putting out more content than we ever have. I'm so excited about some of the stuff that we got going, I can't even really focus sometimes. I'm having a hard time sleeping. I'm just jacked. But this community tab is a way for us to all interact and a way for me to know exactly what questions you want to answer. So what I'm going to do is have you guys post on the videos. Hey, Chad, ask this question on the community tab. Specifically mention that community tab, then I'll pose that question. I'll pick a subscriber. If I pick your question to be featured on Kayak Bass Fishing or here on the channel, then I'm going to give you a free KBF membership. So if you haven't done so yet, consider becoming a KBF member. It helps support the channel. If you already are a KBF member and you win, here's what I'm going to say. I'm going to give you that KBF membership to award to another member, because if each one of you guys can reach one person, we can double the channel, we can double our community, and we can double what I can do for you guys here on the channel. You know what I'm saying? We could just do more for you. So I really want to blow this thing up this year. I'm excited about the opportunity. But let me tell you my philosophy real quick before I get to this question, okay? A lot of channels I see constantly pandering for more subscribers, constantly pandering for you to help them grow their channel, okay? I look at it like this. This is our channel. My number one job is to take care of you, okay? My number one job is to take care of the 60,000 subscribers we have now before I worry about the next 40, 50, 60, 70,000 subscribers. I'm not worried about hitting 100,000 subscribers. I am worried about giving the 60,000 of you plus or whatever we're at right now that have showed the vote of confidence by subscribing to my channel, what you asked for, continuously trying to give you a better product. And my thought process on that is, if we do that, then we'll just naturally get more subscribers. Am I gonna call you out and ask you to subscribe? Absolutely. Am I gonna do the reminder and the shout out to new people checking the videos out? Absolutely. But my number one focus is to give back to you, the folks that have helped me get to where I'm at, the folks that have got this channel to where it is, instead of always looking forward and forgetting the people that have gotten me to here. So I just want to say that real quick before we jump into this next community tab question. Please comment on the videos. If I get 1,000 likes, or if I get 1,000 views, how come we can't have 800 comments? Come on, guys. Y'all, just post a comment. It's a little bit of time for you. It means a whole lot to me, and it lets me know exactly what you like about the content, what you don't like about the content, and how I can make it better. So this question comes from John Bolton. John Bolton says, I'm interested in learning more about fishing big bodies of water from a kayak, and what's the smartest way to plan an attack for a day of fishing? Well, John, you live in Bowling Green, and we've talked about getting together several times, so let's just get together and go tackle one of the best big bodies of water around here and go hit up Kentucky Lake or Barkley. So I'm going to use Kentucky Lake and Barkley as an example of how to break down a bigger body of water. A lot of folks see these big bodies of water and they're overwhelmed, okay? I really like to use the rule of thirds: upper, mid-lake, and lower lake, okay? I'm not gonna get into when you fish each one, why, because I'm gonna do that in a separate video, the video that I call SWAT, seasonal progression, weather, astrological data, and then temperature, and temperature as a trend. So it's SWAT, my tactical approach to fishing. I do that in live seminars, and I don't know why I've never done it here on the channel, so we're gonna do the SWAT series. But let me talk to you about that rule of thirds, okay? You're gonna break that body of water down. In a particular season, you're gonna fish lower lake, down lake. In a particular season or time of year, you're gonna fish mid lake. And then in another time of year, you're gonna fish upper lake, okay? So let's just say it's winter, and let's just say the dam's at the north end of the lake, and that's probably where the fish are gonna be located and congregated. One of the things you have to take into consideration, is your lake a current lake? Do they pull there? Is it a generation lake? Is it a natural lake? Is there a dam system? Is there not a dam system? And here's why I say that. 9 times out of 10, let's just talk about winter fishing, okay? Upper lake, okay, near the dam. That's where the deeper water generally is. But if that upper end of the lake and that dam generates all winter long, and there's no still water, and there's cold water coming from the north, which is where most of the water comes from, you know, because most rivers flow from north to south, and they can't, you know what I'm saying? So if you're steadily pumping colder water into that deep water isn't that sanctuary where they go down there and they get to that warmer water, or they get to that stiller water, they get to that place where they can conserve energy. So you have to think about that. So let's just say, for the sake of argument, that the upper end of the lake, upper lake, the upper section is where you want to focus on. You want to then take that upper section and divide it into thirds. Where's the wind been coming from? Where are the bigger creek arms? Where does water come in from off the other parts of the region, And so a lot of that stuff gets brought into account. So the big reason that people don't have a lot of success fishing big bodies of water is because they think of them as big bodies of water. We're going to go back to my elephant analogy. If you picked up an elephant and tried to eat the whole thing at one time, you wouldn't be able to do it. But I'm sure that most of you, especially if you're my age or older, you've heard the old saying, you have to eat an elephant one bite at a time. So you have to break down a body of water into smaller segments. Rule of thirds. Once you decide on that third, break that third down into thirds. Decide which third you're going to focus on and learn that third, okay? And if that third is the wrong third, you'll figure it out by not catching any fish. Now, there are ways to maximize the benefit of that time, okay? I'll give you one quick example, and then you take this logic and apply it to your approach. I love shallow creeks that don't have a lot of water, that don't have a lot of flow, that flow into a larger body of water, and where they flow in, there's deeper water. I'm going to tell you why I like that. Most of the time, those fish are going to stage in that deeper water. But if you have a warming trend, 4, 5, 6, 7 days in the middle of winter, and then during that warming trend, it rains, and let's just say that the water temperature is in the mid-40s, okay? I hate it when I watch videos when people say winter fishing, but they may be talking about Maine or they may be talking about Florida. Winter fishing in Florida is different than winter fishing in Maine. So I'm going to tell you guys water temperatures, okay, so that you can relate that to where you're at. So let's just say your water temperature's in the mid-40s, okay, which is pretty much where it settles out at here for us in the South. It doesn't get much lower than that in most cases, especially at depth. And a lot of times people focus only on surface temperature. I'll talk about that in a different video. You really need to get yourself a stream thermometer, something that fly fishermen use, attach it to your line, drop it to the bottom, and find out what the actual temperature is where you're fishing. Bring it up at different depths and check it at different depths, and that'll give you a true picture. So anyway, so back to what I was talking about. If I can get a shallow creek, okay, that doesn't have a whole lot of running water, but when it rains, it runs, and I can get a 4, 5, 6, 7 day warming trend in the wintertime, if it rains during that time, that water is going to be warmer than the water that is already stratified, the water that has already gone through turnover, the water that has already gotten as cold as the outside air temperature was for that period of time, okay? And during that warming trend, the upper layer of that water is going to be the first to warm. Take that water that is warming, combine with it water that has been rainwater that is running into it, you're going to get stain. You're going to get water running in that is warmer on top of a water layer that was already warming up. And you've got the scenario for what I call winter inversion, where those fish move from deep water up to shallow water. Now, if it's a mile from where they stage, they're probably not going to move in there. If it's 2 miles from where they stage, they're definitely not going to move in there. But if you can find that, 20 yards to 20-foot water, you got this creek coming in, or even if you don't have a creek, if you just have a big bluff wall where that water is going to run down it, man, I'm going to tell you, I literally just got goosebumps thinking about this, because one of my favorite scenarios is one of those bluff walls that's facing the sun 3/4 of the day. The sun rises in the east, it sets in the west, it kind of turns a little bit southwest, northeast when it's, when you got to figure that out. But just go to your spots and kind of mark where the sun's going to be. But if you've got a big bluff wall, hard rock, rain running down it instead of running into a creek, the whole time that rain is going down that rock that's been warming in the sun, it's also being warmed by the sun. That warm water is hitting that upper layer of warm water. That warm water layer thickens. The bait fish move up into it. Those fish that are down deep can now move up to feed. I've thrown a buzzbait when the water temperature down deep was 36 degrees, mid-column it was in the 40s, and the upper water layer was 54 degrees. 54 degrees in the middle of winter, and it probably wasn't but 54 degrees about that deep. And I've thrown a buzzbait against bluff walls. I've thrown swim baits against bluff walls, and I've thrown really small lipless cranks against those bluff walls and flat out smashed them in that scenario. So to answer John's question, I talked about a couple of scenarios, but to really answer his question about fishing big bodies of water, you have to break them down. You have to stop thinking of them as this enormous, overwhelming thing and take one creek arm and consider that a whole body of water and then break it up. Take one cove and really learn that and really fish it. While we're talking about winter fishing baits, let me grab a rod real quick. You guys stay right here. I'll be right back. And I'm back. So I hate doing these videos, top 3 lures for this, because, you know, pretty much everybody Googles that and then just regurgitates it. And you see a lot of folks that do these videos that, I'm not getting into that. I'm just going to say this. I'm not a big fan of those videos. I do them because I have to. I do them because you guys asked for them. But I want to show you an actual setup that I'm fishing and literally grab something that's been on my kayak recently that I fished in, you know, 45 degree to 51 degree water temperature. I had this very scenario that I was talking about. I had no cameras with me. I was out fun fishing. I was freezing my butt off, so I didn't necessarily want to set up all the cameras, and I honestly didn't think I was going to catch enough fish to make a video. But this little dude right here, a little lipless crank, okay? This should be something that you throw. Honestly, you can throw it year round. In the summertime, I don't throw it as much. Anytime the water is cool or cold, I'm throwing it. But when it's really cold and I get that upper water, that upper layer inversion, I'll tell you right now, I've got to change the hooks on this thing because I don't know if you can see that, but I have worn the freaking tips off of this hook. I've literally rounded them off from throwing it up against these bluff walls. I've literally knocked the paint off, grinding it along these humps and these boulders. And I'll get you guys a little closer look at that. You see that paint right there? If your lipless crank don't look like that, you ain't fishing it right. So in that scenario, what I wanted to create is vibration, flash. I wanted the ability to drop that lure down and yo-yo it. One of the questions that comes up quite a bit is, man, how do you activate suspended fish? Probably the number 1 and number 2 way that I activate suspended fish is with a blade bait or with a lipless crank. Now I have lipless cranks that I modify by drilling a hole in the top of the forehead, putting some BBs in there, some lead or some steel shot that I use from, you know, shells from duck hunting, and then I put a toothpick in there, push it down in there till it seals the hole, break it off, and cover it up with a little epoxy and then paint back over it. Bada boom, bada bing. That bait is a little heavier. It's a little louder if you leave the beads in. A lot of times I want to shut the beads down. I think sometimes they want it a little more subtle. So I'll have a quiet version. I actually write a little Q on the side with a Sharpie, but you can also just pick it up and shake it. But what I want is I want a heavier bait, okay? I want a bait that's quieter when I want it quiet and that's louder when I want it loud. And you drop that down on those bluff walls when those fish aren't feeding and just rip, and do the rip stop. These baits do really well when you rip them. They still create that little side, and then they fall back through. And you know, sometimes it's just about activating the bite. Sometimes it's a reaction bite. If you can see them on the graph and they're suspended, you can probably agitate them into biting with a lipless crank. I also like to fish a blade bait. If you guys read my book, Kayak Bass Fishing, I talked about a bait in there called jingle blades, which I take a press and poke holes in the blade, and then I put split shot all the way around it, and I hook split shot to split shot. So when I drop that bait down in there, I can just jiggle it, and all those little split shot make clicking sounds, and it sounds a lot like a bait fish school, and it's just something that they instinctively have to hit. So John, to answer your question, don't fish a big body of water as a big body of water. Think of a big body of water as a lot of small bodies of water. Break it down, use the rule of thirds, take those thirds and divide them into thirds, and heck, you can apply that all the way down to as small as you want to go. You can take your third and divide it into thirds. But when you do that, and then you do your research, and you have a mindset of going to that particular place of what you're going to target, or you go there looking for places to target, either way, you're going to come away from that a lot more gratified, a lot more satisfied, and a lot more confident about the next time that you go. Or if you paddle around all day and you don't see a single brush pile, you don't see a single blip, you don't see a single anything, then you probably can just eliminate that section, mark it off on your map, and move on to exploring more fruitful places. Part of being a successful angler is eliminating empty water. So anyway, guys, I hope you enjoyed this video. Give the video a big thumbs up. If you haven't done so yet, consider becoming a KBF member. Support the community, support the channel, and we'll do the best we can to continue bringing you great content. All the information that I talk about is linked up in the description box below. If there's any videos that kind of reinforce what I talked about here, I'll also throw them down in the description box under the additional videos tab. So stay strong, stay motivated, stay engaged, ask some questions, give this video a big thumbs up, click on that community tab, and jump in here and interact so that we can grow the benefit to all of you guys for being here. So thank you much. Love y'all, and I will see you in the next video.